Right now, there's probably a can in your pantry, leaching chemicals into your food every day it sits there. You bought it because it felt smart, cheap, shelf-stable, ready when you need it. But the canning industry and the rules meant to protect you have quietly let some bad stuff slide. Today, I'm showing you the 8 canned foods to pull off your shelf, starting now. 1. Canned tuna is the food you reach for when you're trying to be good. Lean protein, cheap, no cooking, and everyone's told you it's heart healthy. That reputation is exactly why most people never stop to think about what's actually building up inside every can: mercury. Here's the part nobody explains. Tuna is a predator, so it eats smaller fish, and the mercury from every one of those fish collects in its body for life. The bigger and older the tuna, the more it carries. That's why albacore, the white tuna that sounds like the premium choice, packs around 3 times the mercury of light tuna. And the FDA's mercury advice is just that, advice. There's no agency testing the can you bought, no limit enforced on the shelf. You're trusting a number nobody checked. The cost lands on the people who eat tuna, thinking it's the safe choice. Mercury builds up in your body faster than it leaves, and it hits the nervous system and the brain hardest. Pregnant women and kids carry the highest risk of all. And there's no warning on the label loud enough to stop you. The food you pick to do right by your body might be the one quietly working against it. 2. Canned tomatoes. Canned tomatoes feel like the one pantry staple you can't get wrong. They're the base of your sauce, your chili, your soup, and they're loaded with the good stuff fresh tomatoes give you. The tomatoes aren't the problem here. The can is. Tomatoes are one of the most acidic foods you'll put in a can, and that acid does something to the lining you can't see. Almost every can is coated on the inside with a thin plastic resin to stop the metal from corroding. That coating is often made with BPA, a chemical linked to hormone problems. Acidic food pulls it right out of the lining and into what you're eating, and tomatoes do this better than almost anything else on the shelf. Even cans stamped BPA-free usually just swapped it for BPS, a close cousin that behaves much the same way. So the issue isn't a one-time thing, it's that tomatoes are something you probably eat every week, sometimes a whole can at a time. That's steady, repeated exposure to a chemical that messes with your body's hormone signals. The healthier you think you're cooking, the more of it you're serving up. Nobody puts that on the front of the label. 3. Canned soup. Soup is the food you turn to when you want to feel better. It's what you eat when you're sick, when it's cold, when you're trying to keep dinner light. And the can knows it. That's why the front is covered in words like healthy, hearty, and natural. Those words are doing a lot of work to hide what's inside. The front of a can is where the marketing lives, and the rules there are loose. The truth is on the back, in the nutrition panel. 1 can of regular soup can carry most of the sodium you're supposed to eat in a whole day, and that's a single can, which is often 2 servings dressed up as 1. Even the low sodium version is usually still high, just less extreme. Then there are the natural flavors, a vague term that can hide additives, built to make watered down soup taste like more than it is. So you're sitting down to something you picked because it felt clean and simple. Instead, you're getting a heavy salt load that pushes up your blood pressure over time. The word healthy on the front cost you nothing to believe and everything to trust. That's the trade you didn't agree to. 4. Canned fruit. Canned fruit looks like a win. It's an easy way to get fruit into your kids. It lasts forever. And the label tells you it's packed in 100% juice or light syrup, which sounds gentle enough. What you're actually scooping out is a lot closer to dessert than fruit. Look closer at those words. Heavy syrup and light syrup are just sugar water, plain and simple. Light only means a bit less of it. In 100% juice sounds clean, but that juice is concentrated fruit sugar with the fiber stripped out, so it spikes you almost like syrup does. And no sugar added is a loophole, not a promise. The fruit and juice already bring plenty on their own. On top of that, the peeling and cooking that goes into canning strips out most of the fiber, the one thing that would have slowed the sugar down. So the sugar hits your blood fast, with nothing to buffer it. You spike, then you crash, then you're hungry again. And if you're feeding this to a kid every day as they're serving a fruit, you're really handing them a cup of sweetened syrup with a few soft chunks floating in it. 5. Canned vegetables. Reaching for canned corn, green beans, or peas feels like the responsible move. They're cheap, they keep forever, and you're eating your vegetables. What could go wrong? The problem is what happens to a vegetable when it's processed by the millions to sit on a shelf for years. To can at that scale, the vegetables get blasted with high heat to kill off any bacteria and make them shelf stable. That heat does the job, but it also wrecks the most fragile vitamins. Vitamin C and several of the B vitamins break down when they're cooked that hard. So a lot of what made the vegetable worth eating is gone before the can is even sealed. Then, because cooked down vegetables on a giant production line taste like very little, the makers add salt and sometimes sugar to give it back some flavor. So, here's where it leaves you. You check the box in your head that says, I ate my vegetables, but your body got a fraction of the vitamins it was counting on, plus a dose of added salt it didn't need. You did the right thing and barely got paid for it. The fresh or frozen version would have given you far more. 6. Canned meat. Canned meat has a loyal following. Spam, Vienna sausages, potted meat. It's cheap, it never goes bad, and for a lot of people, it's pure nostalgia. But the word meat on these cans is doing some heavy lifting, because what's inside isn't quite what you picture when you hear it. A lot of canned meat is made from something called mechanically separated meat. That's the scraps and bits left clinging to the bone after the good cuts are gone, pressed off by machine into a soft paste. Then come the preservatives. Sodium nitrite is the common one, the thing that keeps the color pink and the can shelf stable, and it's been tied to higher cancer risk when processed meat is eaten regularly. Add in starchy fillers and a heavy dose of salt, and you've got something engineered to feel like meat for as little money as possible. So the cheap protein you thought you were buying is mostly paste, salt, and chemicals doing an impression of food. Once in a while won't hurt you. But if this is a regular part of how you eat, the savings at the register come back around as a cost you pay with your health. 7. Canned pasta and kids' meals. This one is aimed right at parents. SpaghettiOs and Chef Boyardee are sold as a quick, wholesome meal your kid will actually eat. The ads lean hard on made with real tomato sauce and a good source of this or that vitamin. The whole pitch is a promise that this is a safe, decent thing to feed a child. The can doesn't keep that promise. Flip it over and the friendly story falls apart. These meals are built on sugar and salt. A single can can carry a startling amount of both, hiding behind a cartoon and a comforting brand name you grew up with. The real ingredient line and the added vitamins are there to make a parent feel okay about it, but they don't undo the sugar load or the sodium. The product was engineered to taste good to a kid and sell easy to a parent, not to nourish anyone. And that's where the real cost sits. You're not just feeding your kid one mediocre dinner, you're training their taste buds to expect that level of sugar and salt as normal. The brand made you a promise on the front of the can, and your kid is the one who pays when it's broken. 8. Canned broth and stock broth feels like a small upgrade that makes you a better cook. It's the base for your soups, your gravy, the liquid you cook your rice in, and the label paints a picture of slow-simmered stock from real bones and vegetables. So you happily pay a few dollars a carton without thinking twice, run the math on what's actually in there, and the deal looks a lot worse. Real stock, the kind simmered for hours from bones, is slow and expensive to make. That's the opposite of what these brands need. So most cheap broth is built mainly from water and salt, with the savory taste faked in using yeast extract and natural flavors instead of the real thing. You're paying a premium price for what's mostly seasoned water. The handful of ingredients inside costs pennies, and the rest of your money is buying the picture on the front. So here's the cost over time. You think you're adding real nutrition and depth to your cooking, but you're mostly adding sodium and a flavor illusion. Do this a few times a week, every week, and you're spending real money on salt water, while the actual nourishment you thought you were getting was never in the can. That's 8 cans worth pulling off your shelf for good. If this opened your eyes, share it with someone who's still stocking their pantry with the wrong ones. I'll see you in the next one.